These eyebrows are filled in today. Ooh, they look good. I'll get it a little. Hey, how you doing? So I just wanted to give you a quick garden update. So let's go over to some beds and check them out. So if you didn't see my first video on the garden that looked completely barren and boring, I don't know if you guys remember this bed where we planted some cauliflower and some kale earlier in the spring, but it's looking very legitimate now. Let's get in on this kale. Oh, a bounty. The cauliflower haven't started developing anything yet, but it's such a large vegetable, it's just going to take a long time. Whereas leafy greens, they're usually the first thing to come up. And as you can also see, I've been putting down newspapers. That just keeps the weed out, it keeps the moisture up. In spots where a little bit of the paper got blown away, weeds will pop in. This right here isn't a weed, this is milkweed. Milkweed, maybe it is a weed, but it's a benefit. It's a benefit to the garden because it'll attract monarch butterflies and they'll pollinate everything else. So this cauliflower is looking pretty legitimate in the leaves section. I'm just waiting for a bulb or the actual vegetable to start developing. This is my tomato bed. We went away for a week, so it is in desperate need of weeding. Yeah, check that out. The birds and the squirrels in the neighborhood, they will just run around in these and, drop stuff in it. So it's kind of inevitable that weeds just come up, but I've been pretty negligent. Here's the parsley from the winter video. It's doing really well in this corner right now. I relocated it, and I didn't have to do too much to just let it do its thing. This little vine right here, it's called Creeping Jenny. It's probably one of the hardiest plants you can have. It's used in container gardening a lot for being ornamental because it'll spill over the sides and look real nice. But it's very invasive. As you can see, if we kind of bring it over here, I have some just kind of growing in the corners just because it'll seed itself so easily. You can see it right there also. So there's so many weeds in the tomato box, you can see them. But I have these bamboo poles right now. Back it up. So I have 3 of them in succession. They're both reinforced by 3 poles each, making a triangle shape for support. And then I have 2 running along the top. Now that these tomato plants are tall enough, I have a string that I'm tying, and the tomato is going to be supported by this string, and it will start to climb up. Excuse me. This seems to be a popular method for tomatoes. I couldn't tell you the terminology for it, but this is my first time doing it, so I'm interested in seeing how it'll work. There's a whole bunch of ties you can get at the store for gardening. I really like this twine. It's just some type of natural fiber. It holds up all summer and probably even into a second summer if you don't disturb it. And then it just kind of naturally breaks down on its own. So it's okay if it ends up in the garden, which all your ties will end up in the garden just from coming and going. The coming and going of seasons. So I really like it. I'm going to finish tying up the shortest tomato and then I'll show you some other stuff. Got some strawberries coming in, and as we pull it back, can see we're laying down some newspaper. And I'm just going to lay these down in between and around all the plants, keeps the weeds down, makes watering it makes watering having to happen less. I know it doesn't look too aesthetically pleasing at first, just having you know, the ads, but it will fade out and you won't notice it as much. And it'll make it easier for you in the long run. I've just been saving. We get this newspaper delivered to our house. We don't pay for it, and I don't know why it comes here or why. No one's paying for this paper. It's just junk, so I've been saving it for months. Now I actually have to just follow through and put it in the yard. Otherwise, I'm just going to look like a hoarder having a stack of newspapers in the back room. So, you know, keep it thick. You don't really want to like lay it out too thin, just because it kind of needs to be its own weight. And we're keeping out weeds also. So yeah, you see this? We're just, you know, sticking it around the other ones. So it's super sunny out right now. But yeah, that's what it looks like when you pull out all the weeds and lay the newspaper down. I heavily wetted the newspaper also. It just kind of acts like a glue. And then the natural weight of the newspaper will settle into the dirt. You can hear my neighbor's dog barking nonstop. God, don't look at my grass right now. So, a little upshot.